Well, you can find that intro song on Spotify now, right?
It's a DJ J's latest hit.
Nick's, yeah. He does weddings and birthday parties too. Yeah.
Well, welcome to Live with Cale and Rob. I think today we wanted to chat a little bit. Last Friday was our AI summit.
Yeah.
It was a long day, lots of learning. And I thought it'd be really good to kind of chat a little bit about what we found insightful, what we liked about it. I know you weren't at the morning session, so you missed a little bit of it, but we had a little bit of everything. We had in the morning talking about crypto, and then had Kane and Alyssa Minkus talk about sort of more to the practical part and how to put things in action. Peter Diamandis, which was amazing. My brain hurt after watching his presentation on things that's happening. And then we wrapped up with a heated panel on AI and education, and then AI in like the opportunities in BC. So I'm curious, we're going to unpack a lot of that, but I'm curious from your perspective, like, what did you find? Like, what was the highlight for you? I know you said you missed the morning part, but what was the highlight for you when?
Yeah, honestly,
other than you being on stage.
Yeah, I mean, the highlight was being on stage with Rob, I would say. But no, I think it was great to see something like that event come to Kelowna, because I think communities like Kelowna often get missed. People go to Vancouver or Calgary, and we go there. So first and foremost, I thought it was super exciting to see a ton of business owners that are there doing their best to figure out what is AI, how do I integrate AI. Right. People had amazing questions. Mm-hmm. Peter's talk was, amazing to hear from someone of that caliber. One, just the type of work he's doing. I mean, he's doing everything from trying to prolong your life to investing with Elon Musk to trying to, help businesses navigate this new artificial intelligence journey. So I thought there was a lot of information. I think it spoke to a lot of different groups of people. And I do think if you're listening and you're at the summit, there's a lot of different pieces that you could pull or take from that. But now really getting into the specifics of your business, I know you're working on some, opportunities for businesses to come in and talk specifically about their brand, their business, how they integrate this. But overall, I thought it was a fantastic success.
Yeah, I thought it was great too. We're getting really good feedback from one through LinkedIn and social media and so forth. Well, no one's going to tell us if they're talking smack about us.
Yeah.
But it was good. I think it was good. And for me, Peter was the highlight for me. And the reason I say that is because it really opened my eyes to, like, this isn't like coming, it's here.
Yeah.
Like that was, for me, I'm like, oh my gosh, there's like literally drones delivering stuff to people's homes in their backyards. Like today, there's like robots that are unloading dishwashers today. That's the thing that was the biggest aha for me, because you're stuck in I'm stuck in my marketing world, and I know how much AI has affected the marketing side, but it's touched so many areas, like already, not like it's coming, it's already touched it, which I thought was interesting.
Yeah. And I think that you can see that, we saw all of the stats he showed of how quickly the model is generating to the point where I think he said it's went from middle school level to high school level, and now we're almost hitting post-secondary college level education within the next, we can sit here and debate all we want. Some say it's going to be 5 years, some say it's going to be next month, others say it's going to be 10 years to when the model can actually have its own intelligence and be providing data that it's never been heard or fed before to give responses. But another point that I think was really important about what Peter was saying is there's going to be two types of businesses, like we were talking about. The businesses that move forward with AI, and unfortunately the businesses that go out of business. And for me to hear that with where he's at and who he works with, he's sending a very clear message that this is going to end businesses.
Yes.
And he's warning now, and he's trying to provide this information to business owners. But if I'm a business owner, which I am, sitting out there, that's enough calling to me to make some changes and really look at this and see how I can integrate it.
Well, and I think you need to start. Like, that's where I think people sometimes, like, they don't move forward with anything, and it's too late sometimes. Yeah. And it is like, that's where I think, again, back to, it's literally touches every vertical. Like, if you think that it's not for me, it's not going to affect us, I'm telling you right now it is. Like 100%. And these are coming, like I said, if you don't believe Rob and Cale, listen to Peter Diamandis, who is a leader in this space alongside people like Elon. And so like in the stuff that they're doing, these are leaders in the space that are doing it today. Like these are the people that are actually making the differences. And you know, I think yesterday you texted me and I had just posted on LinkedIn, like OpenAI.
Yeah, the new investment.
What was the valuation? 157 billion or something?
Yeah, or 164, 157
billion.
A lot of billions.
Yeah, like so it's coming in big companies that the brands like Nvidia and Microsoft and like putting billions of dollars into this. So they're not doing it because they just like Sam Altman.
Well, and I think that that's really the key to this, right? If you don't take anything from what Rob and I are saying or what Peter said or really any speaker, and you just look at the numbers, the pure financial numbers, OpenAI in 2022 was worth $14 billion. They just closed a deal for whatever, 157 or 160, whatever it was in a 2-year period.
Yeah, which is
right.
insane.
Like we've never seen a private company go from that valuation to go public and raise, what was it, $6.8 billion.
Yeah.
And Sam is saying that, that's just a start. Like that's not even going to be close to what we're going to raise.
So they're talking trillions
of dollars,
which is, and they'll do it.
And they will do it. Yeah. And they're willing to burn the money to make the money. But the whole point of that is you have companies like Microsoft, Facebook, Apple, all the largest players are either investing with them or backing out to go do their own thing. So if the main core businesses in our world, Amazon, Apple, all of these companies are moving forward with it, it's moving with the times, right? If they push it, everyone's going to push it.
What I think that was neat about the other part of the conference is having Kate and Alyssa there, where Alicia there was, they did the practical, because people are like, oh great, I hear these billions of dollars and Peter Diamandis, and then there's people like Cale and Alyssa are saying, well, here's how you can implement it today in your business, like baby steps. And we'll talk about the end on, we are launching some workshops here that you and I will be hosting some and so forth. And I think that's where I'm focused on now, we're focused on now, is how do we get businesses that are listening, that might have been there or it's hearing and seeing this, and they're like, what do we do?
Yeah.
Right. So we've already held a couple of sessions before, and then we took a little bit of break because of the conference, and really good stuff came out of it. Right. So just little tips on how you can implement and to make your life, your business a little bit more efficient. And it can be baby steps. It's okay. You don't have to, there are businesses that are being flipped on its head. For sure. One of them is, I saw, this is blew my mind. I was talking to Jim about this. In China, there's like shipping yards that are 100% controlled by AI.
Wow. So there's no people there.
Nope.
Yeah. There's no.
But that's what I mean. Like that's how. Like so, you think about what's happening, and I think I don't know where there's talk of a strike in the shipping.
I think it's happening now.
Right.
I don't think we're gonna be able to have bananas and wine.
But that's what I'm saying. Like, so if you're sitting there and you're going, and I get it. I get both sides. We'll talk about. You said something about before we hopped on about fear, and we'll talk about that. But it's like, so if I'm sitting there, I'm like, I want to raise. I'm in a shipping yard. I want to raise. I want all this stuff. And then you look at what they're doing in China. Like, well, running the whole shipping yards was just robots.
Right. And that's where it's coming from, right? Is like these unions that are leaving to make more dollars and push, hey, we're bringing this value. 100% they are. And that's between the two parties. But then you look to the other side and you're like, wait, but they're doing it with no humans for half the cost, half the price. It's an upfront investment, but I'll never have this issue again.
No.
And so the minds now of these CEOs and these billionaires and these tech owners are looking at this and going, wait, instead of dealing with this, we're going to turn that way and start investing in these things. And that's going to hurt, the economy and the job market.
Well, and it's interesting because I was talking to a friend about this, and they made a comment about, we'll talk about fear and AI models lie and all this stuff. And I said, I'm not here to tell you, like, definitely, I'm not telling you what's right or wrong. I'm just telling you this is reality. Like, don't agree with me, like it or don't like AI. Like, that's not for me to tell you which way to, but I'm just telling you that it's happening. And as a business owner, those people are going to make decisions what's best for their business.
Right. And like, I think, so I had a client the other day say, well, AI is not ethical. And I'm like, so who says what's ethical? And I think Peter had commented on this as well, but like who is saying what is and what isn't ethical? And who is the end point to the bot to say, oh, wait, that isn't ethical? It's the people that train it.
Right.
So if there's a bias, no matter what, this is my honest opinion, is there will be a bias in the model that's trained because it's being trained by humans that all have
a bias. Yeah.
Right? So like if you're waiting for a non-bias AI model to use, you're not going to get it because it's trained off of all of us and we all have a different bias. So, and the ethical question of like, is it ethical? I don't know. What's your definition of ethics, right? And what's your definition of what's moral? Because OpenAI has a definition of that.
Correct.
And they've integrated it and you may not agree with it, but that's how we're moving forward. So this I wouldn't say excuse, but this hesitation around, well, it's not ethical or maybe it's not as moral. I understand that. But the problem is these models are just learning more and more. They're getting more and more powerful. So like you either jump on the bandwagon or you don't, but you're not going to have this perfect ethical model ever.
No, but I did a post on this because I was talking over the weekend with someone about this and it got me thinking. I'm watching, and I don't want to get into politics, but I will, I'm watching the vice president debate.
Yeah.
And then this person's telling me how, well, I don't want to use AI because it lies. And I'm like, so I'm watching this debate. I'm like like in political side, it's okay to lie then, I guess. Yeah. So the model can't lie, right, but it's okay if the humans lie. And then you comment on a post and it was so right. It's controlled by like, if I let that lie go out from the chat GPT or whatever it is it the model's fault or is it Rob's fault?
Exactly.
Right. So the human's the one that's putting the stuff in, and then I have to copy and paste it and put it on my LinkedIn. So if I do that, I'm the one that's at fault, not the machine, because it's just a tool.
And that's that's where I'm coming from, right? Is like two wrongs don't make a right? Like our vice presidential candidates shouldn't be up there lying. Our presidential candidates shouldn't be lying. And our local business owners shouldn't be lying.
Exactly.
But it happens every day.
Correct.
And so when the model is trained on something and it spits something out that's dishonest, we still have the opportunity to say, hey, actually, that was not correct. When you just blatantly lie on national television to the nation,
correct.
There's no one that can say, hey, let's rerun that one more time, right? Like it's past that. And so I think it's unfair to blame the model when it's really humanity that's trained those models. It's us. I mean, you've given it that output or input that's given it that output, and then you went and posted that on your LinkedIn. I mean,
well, and that's what even with the workshops we had done previously is we tell, like one thing I say all the time is do not use chat, and I'm going to say ChatGPT because that's what most people are using right now, or whatever, Claude, whatever. Do not just copy and paste it and put it into your blog or your website. Like don't do that, period. Like I would never encourage people to do that. Is that it could be a good idea starter. It can help with, analyzing data, an amazing job analyzing data, predictive analysis, all that sort of stuff. But if you copy and paste it and you copy paste the wrong thing, that's your fault. Yeah,
it is. And the other thing I would say too is understand that ChatGPT, and I think this was one thing that may have been missed at the summit, or at least not clear when it came out, is ChatGPT and OpenAI have created a model that's easy for you at home to use. You can open it. Right. It's got a cool user interface. It spits you out what you want, and you're like, boom, this is AI. I encourage my clients all the time to start thinking about that software embedded into other softwares that you currently use. Think of Amazon, think of Netflix, think of Spotify, think of these companies that you're using today on a day-to-day basis, and think what those tools can empower these companies to do with delivery, efficiencies, speed of the way they get content to you, understanding what type of music you want to listen to at what certain times of the day. All of these little tasks that these companies are now going to be able to integrate and, create new products with.
Right.
Based off of what you're using with ChatGPT. So I think there's a little bit of a misconception of like, oh, these models are super cool. I can write to it and it writes back to me. But think further. How does this impact, your favorite businesses out there when they integrate these AIs and they can do things that we've never seen them do, like a robot cleaning your dishes?
Yeah, it was pretty. Yeah. I saw it, and I should have brought this up because maybe if I can find it, we'll post it in the comments when we post this video. Is that I was reading this morning that they did a test with doctors, and they allowed a set of doctors not using AI, a set of doctors using AI and AI by itself, and AI by itself performed better than the other two groups.
Well, because ultimately, right, you're restricting those other two groups to what the knowledge that they 100%. Have versus the knowledge of the world, and that's another situation, right? Taking the ChatGPT style functionality and putting it into a doctor's office.
Correct.
look at the information we can feed to that doctor from around the world, everywhere in the world, every piece of data that they can mine to
not
say,
just 1,000 patients they've always seen.
Right.
Yeah.
Now we can say, you know what? Actually, Dr. ABC, that's the wrong medication because we have more data saying that this one is better. That's nothing against the doctor.
No, not
that's
at all.
That's a tool that can
Correct.
help us all live better lives.
Yeah. Well, speaking of that, I'm gonna pivot a little bit because I want to talk a little bit about AI in education.
Yeah, I'm gonna just pass out.
Yeah, so and I know just for it was the last topic we talked about. I thought it was a great discussion. Like I'm a big believer. I mean, I encourage my kids. I encourage people like you don't have to have the same view as me or whatever. Like that's part of I feel where we get to really good things. It's okay to have different views and I feel like after reflecting on that, no different than healthcare. AI in education is a perfect example. I don't think we have all the answers. Like we don't know how, and no one has the magic answer to say, magic pill to say, this is how AI is going to help education. But it was interesting. I've had friends that are teachers and talking about, and some of the teachers I spoke to just feel they're handcuffed actually because they want to use these tools. They would like to use these tools, but for whatever reason, the policy here I'm just talking about here is that no technology, no AI in your classrooms, right? In certain place. I'm not going to paint everything with one brush, right? So it's sometimes they're handcuffed, but it got heated a little bit. There was some interesting discussion around the human side and how kids should learn and how they shouldn't learn. And I think when it comes down to it for me though is that there's a powerful tool that allows kids to learn at the level they want to learn at. And I get it. When you're a child, you need to learn to write, understand colors, you understand math. I get the foundationals. But as you get into grade 8, 9, 10, let's say, and if a 10-year-old, I want to be an engineer, why can't I start learning as grade 10 to be an engineer?
Well, I have my beliefs. So I'm not an educator. So what happened on the panel, and I thought it was honestly maybe the highlight of the,
Me too.
the day. Besides Peter, like our Kane and Peter.
For sure.
But I thought it was a really good opportunity to dive into a topic that a lot of people don't want to talk about.
Yeah.
And I wish we would have done it a little bit earlier in the day so more could have seen it. But the whole idea behind this is we put a bunch of tech people in a room and we also put a bunch of government officials / policymakers in a room. And then we brought in 2 people that have been in education for their whole careers.
Yes.
And so there was a lot of conflicting opinions. Now, I, first of all, want to say that if you're an educator out there and you're giving your time to teach kids and you're underpaid, undervalued, and giving everything you can to teach kids the best you can, I think that first and foremost, we should acknowledge that our teachers deserve credit.
Right.
However, I do not think that banning the world's probably biggest discovery in over the last 100 years, and I truly believe that, banning that from children to learn off of. And I think that 25 years from now, if we watch this podcast back, the education system is going to look a hell of a lot different.
100%. It has to. Has to.
But I also think that AI today has the power, and this was my point, of personalizing education to each kid in the class. And so I use the story of my entrepreneurship journey. My high school allowed me to dive into what I was passionate about early on. And I think I am where I am today because I started when I was 16 and not when I was 26.
Right.
And my whole point is how do we find, like you were just saying, the kid that wants to be an engineer at 13 and tailor his education around that so he's the best engineer in the world when he's 26. Right. And we have a tool now that makes it really easy for Miss Sampson at the beginning of the class to say, everyone pull out your iPads and I've sent you a personalized journey for today. You're all learning math, but it's all, all the word problems and the content around math are going to be focused on what you're passionate about. School, dance, music,
whatever
art,
it is.
Whatever it is.
Yeah.
And I don't understand why we can't start playing with that in classrooms now.
Me neither.
Today.
And that's where I miss, like you didn't say, when I was talking to a couple of teachers, even my son, I had a good discussion about him. He's got his opinions on this. And I mean, he's at a school where they banned all technology. If you want any technology, you sign it out at the library, you sign out a tablet. But guess what? They don't have enough tablets for people. So guess what?
corporate tax rates going up.
6 kids in the class could have a tablet and the other one just stare at them, I guess.
Yeah.
So that, like, to me, again, back to the education system needs to change. Like, and this isn't, I 100% don't blame teachers. I don't blame principals, none of that. Like, systematically, someone said it on the panel and it really stuck with me. Systematically, the system's been built 30, 40, 50 years ago for the needs of the 30, 40, 50 years ago, not of the needs of 2024.
Yep.
Right. And that's all it comes down to. As a business owner, we've reinvented our business 3 or 4 times.
Right.
COVID happened. Guess what? We had to change. AI's coming. We have to change.
Yeah.
The education system and the health system are not, like, back to health even. There's an AI that could literally get trillions of data points to evaluate, rather than a doctor that is doing the best they can, but only might see 1,000 patients.
Yeah. And that doctor still may get the data back and say, hey, I'm going to go with what I think.
100%.
And that's totally cool. I just think exposing that data. And like you said, I also think, and I wish I would have said this on the panel, why are we turning to the generation that has 5 years of using AI left to make these policies? I mean, people that can't even tell me what artificial intelligence is or who OpenAI is, that are in the United States in Congress trying to pass these laws. Or in Canada. Like, let's talk to the kids. What do they think is important? How do they want to learn? Because ultimately, you know, like it or not, my generation and the generation that's, you know, going through school right now is the ones that are really going to live through this.
Or even the teachers. Anyone talk to the teachers that are in the classroom going, hey, how do you think we should use this?
Right.
Does anyone ever ask them? Probably not. So,
and I think that an easy way out is to say, well, we're going to ban it.
We're doing nothing.
We're going to open the books and we're going to ban it. And I do think there's a time to open the book and have a kid read on a page and shake someone's hand and have a conversation.
100% agree.
But there's also ways that we can discover our next generation of doctors and nurses and lawyers and entrepreneurs now at the age of 14, and they can thrive earlier and find their passions earlier, which I think will help solve a lot of the other issues that we have with, you know, mental health and kids that haven't found their passion and don't really know what they're excited about.
Agreed.
Late into their 20s and 30s versus trying to find it when they're 13 and they're apple picking at recess.
Yeah.
Like, you know,
that's a story.
That's another inside joke.
But it really happened.
Yeah.
So it's interesting. So one thing I actually, I'd like to, because I feel like that was a topic that maybe we could have actually talked more about. Is I'd actually like to host an AI and education day. It's a half day. I've reached out to a couple of universities here to see if they'd be interested in doing it, because I think it's a healthy discussion, and no one has to have the same opinion. It's okay, because I think we just don't know how to use it, but we know that we should be using it. So I'd actually like to do something over the next few months where we actually get in a room and talk about this again.
And I think having us mediate it and really not taking a stance, more like hearing both sides. And I'd love to get some educators that are pro and against, and talk through some of these things and maybe give some advice just from, you know, an engineer perspective of how I'm integrating it, how I'm using it, versus maybe how some teachers have tried to use that and hasn't worked. Most of my clients, I do work in the ed tech space quite a bit. Most clients are private schools or homeschool parents. Right. So, you know, there is I think a barrier to entry for the government funded schools.
100%. But at least having that discussion.
And giving tools to parents at home to maybe utilize.
It's got to start somewhere, though. That's what I mean. It has to start somewhere rather than just like, we're going to ban it. Like, I think, and maybe they are. Like, I would assume a lot of them are working on it and having these discussions. But to me, I argue, like we said earlier, is it the right people in the rooms? Do they have actually educators, like teachers in the room? Do they have kids in the room? Do they have business owners in the room that we're going to be hiring these people? Like, I think is it the politicians that are trying to make decisions? They don't know what's happening in the classrooms.
I think you really have to have industry experts on this because, you know, to be quite honest, I'm not saying the government shouldn't have a say in AI. I think they should have actually a big say. And I think we should probably be having those conversations now of like what's going to happen to, you know, 35 to 40% of the workforce in the next 20 years. But, and maybe AI is going to generate new jobs. Like, I think that's a discussion that needs to be had.
Agreed.
But also these kids are going to graduate in the next 5 to 10 to 12 years into a completely different world.
Agreed.
And I think that education is maybe one, if not one of the most, maybe the most important place to start with. How are we preparing these kids to live in a world that's going to be completely different than what they're learning right now?
Agreed.
And if you're paying all this money to get a college degree, you know, are you going to even have a job in that
At
field?
the end? Yeah.
I don't know. I don't have the answers, but.
Well, anyways, that was a good discussion. A couple things I did want to mention for a wrap up. People that weren't able to be at the AI Summit or weren't there all day, we're actually going to host a screening of it.
Cool.
So Jim and Alexa are working on that. More to come on that. So we're excited to do that. So people will be able, and we're going to have some guest speakers come in to kind of fill the day. But we are actually going to allow people to kind of watch the day if they missed it. Which is kind of cool. Like Cale mentioned before, we are launching some workshops. There'll be in person and virtual. That's the one change that I made. So people that can attend in person will be able to do it virtually as well. So more to come on that. And an AI assessment tool. So there's a few things we'll be launching to kind of help the local businesses, because that, you know, we're talking about big stuff, education, but from a day-to-day basis, we're going to be helping businesses understand how they can implement it into their workforce, into their day-to-day right away. So lots of stuff to come. So
we'll be posting that in the description here.
Yeah, I think once we'll get it, we can post it and get it out, and I think we'll share it amongst our channels as well, and reach out to us if there's any questions, topics that you guys want to talk about. We're testing tools every day. I test this quick little story for you. I'm testing a new AI sales agent.
Oh yeah.
And literally the first day sent the wrong link to the client. The client's like, this isn't us. There you go, right? Like that's part of learning though. Yep. It's part of learning. And I'm like, hey, it's humans make a mistake, not I put the wrong information in. So I think that's part of learning. I think the beauty is we test this stuff and then we can bring it to our clients.
Yeah, for sure.
Right. So, and I think that's the value of saying this product is not, we don't think you should use it, but this is awesome. You should use this. So.
And there's a lot of APIs, not to get too deep into the weeds, that you can integrate to build custom solutions for relatively cost-effective prices. So, you know, that's what In-House does. If there's people out there that are looking for solutions that they can't find on the market or they want changed, you know, it's actually pretty cost-effective to build on top of those APIs.
Love it. So lots to come. Thank you for joining us. And we'll be hopefully back. We will try not to take as long a break this time. So we'll be back. So.
Outro it, DJJ.
Thanks.
Thank you.